Happy Columbus Day / Halloween. Bye.
Happy Sunday. And Halloween. Okay, tell them bye. Put the stickers on the window. That's right. All right, go on.
Mommy.
Hey, tell them bye.
Hi. You're not for it.
Okay.
Mommy.
Okay. All right. He was telling y'all that we put Halloween stickers on our window. That's what Halloween is about at our house. We put the window clings up, and they love doing that. So he was telling you that it's time to put Halloween stickers up to get ready for Halloween. But today I'm going to go back to my book, and I looked at my notes, and it's been a month since I veered off from this book, and it was the how are you going to be remembered book in different aspects. And so today I chose how are we remembered by our attitude. And there's different types of attitudes. And have we ever thought about our attitude? Do we have a good attitude, a bad attitude? Do we ever think about how it affects others? And it goes deeper than that. There's more than just having a good or bad attitude. And so we're going to start with, do we even know what the real definition of an attitude is? And the word attitude in the dictionary means a mental position, feeling, or emotion towards a fact or state. The Bible even tells us what an attitude is as a Christian. We find this in Philippians 4:8, and it says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So our attitude, according to verses 8 in Philippians, is this should be pretty positive, right? Things that are true, honorable, pure, lovely, worthy of praise. That's what our attitude should be focused on. So pretty much a good attitude, a positive attitude. But there are also several other verses in the Bible that show us what our attitude should be like as well. And we're just going to look at two more of them. And they're both in Romans. And it's Romans 12, verse 3. And it says, for by grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned. So this verse is telling us to be humble. We don't need to be getting big-headed, thinking we're bigger than everybody, that we're better than everybody. We need to have a humble attitude, have humility. Same chapter 12, verse 16. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. This verse says we need to have unity, cooperation, and harmony with others. So that's the attitudes we got to have. Unity is an attitude, being willing to be united, to be one and not separate groups. Cooperation, being willing to work with others. And then to have harmony, not only work with them, but not fight with them all the time. Not it's my way and only my way. And those are part of our attitude, things that contribute to our attitude as well. And when we read these verses, it's clear that our attitude is very important. It determines our actions. We do not want to be like the Pharisees in Matthew 12, verses 34, which says, you brood of vipers, how can you speak good when you are evil? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. We cannot say good things, but be evil on the inside. It's not how we're supposed to be as Christians. We cannot be that way. And I want to look at, I think there's 3 examples that I'm going to look at of different attitudes in the Bible. And then we'll stop right there. And I think I'm going to carry this on through different weeks because there's, I think, at least 10 different types of attitudes that I was reading about. And so I start at the top. And I'm going to start with Cain. And most of you all probably know where I'm going with this. As soon as I say Cain, you all think of Abel. And what do you think of? He killed him. Why did he kill his brother? Because of jealousy. So we're going to look at the attitude of jealousy. And we find this in Genesis 4, 1 through 25. And I'm not going to read these verses, but we know that Cain was Adam and Eve's son, and he had a brother Abel. We know Abel was the shepherd and Cain was a farmer. And it was time for them to bring their offerings to the Lord. They did. They did that part right. And we know that Abel brought things that were pleasing to the Lord. Cain did not bring the best of the best like he was supposed to. He did not follow the law. He did not do what he was commanded to do, and God didn't look favorably upon his offering. So what happened? It created jealousy between Cain and Abel. The attitude of jealousy ruined and took over Cain's life in such a way that it caused him to kill his brother. Okay, the attitude of jealousy caused him to kill his brother. Now, we may not take jealousy to this extreme today. We don't go out and kill somebody because we're jealous of them, but it does sometimes make us do mean things, have mean thoughts, have a mean attitude. Jealousy causes a lot of problems. It ruins friendships, it divides families, and it even divides the church. As Christians, we should not have a jealous attitude. The next one is Joseph, and he shows the attitude of humility. Again, we find the account of Joseph in Genesis chapters 27 through chapters 50. We're not going to read all that. But we know from the get-go, what was it? The same attitude of jealousy. Joseph's brothers were jealous of him from the beginning. But Joseph shows the attitude of humility and submission to God's will. Even though they were mean to him, even though they wanted to sell him, they mistreated him. When they were in need, when the tables were turned and there was the famine and they needed food, Joseph had the chance to retaliate. He had the chance to get even. He had the chance to say, I'm not giving you any of my food. You were mean to me. You were jealous of me. You tried to sell me. You did all these mean things to me. But he didn't. He did the right thing. If we were Joseph and someone hurt us, someone was mean to us, someone did us very wrong, it hurt so bad, it cut us deep, then we see a few years later they're in need, they need help, would we be a Joseph? Would we help them? Would we be humble? Would we show humility? Sometimes it is hard to be humble and submit to God's will, but we are called to do just that. Do we have an humble attitude? Lastly, we're going to talk about the attitude of love and compassion. We're going to talk about Dorcas. What better example is there of compassion and love than Dorcas? Acts 9:36 through 39, and we will read these. It says, Now there was in Joppa a disciple named Tabitha, which translated means Dorcas. She was full of good works and acts of charity. In those days she became ill and died, and when they had washed her, they laid her in an upper room. Since Lydia was near Joppa, the disciples, hearing that Peter was there, sent 2 men to him, urging him, Please come to us without delay. So Peter rose and went with them. And when he arrived, they took him to the upper room. All the widows stood beside him weeping and showing tunics and other garments that Dorcas made while she was with them. So we see Dorcas was full of good works. She was full of love and compassion for others. Because yes, she may have sold some of the things she made, but what does this verse tell us? When she died, the very last verse, all the widows stood beside, weeping and showing the garments and the tunics that Dorcas made while she was with them. Dorcas was known for the good works and deeds that she did. She showed her love by giving them the things she made. Do we have an attitude of Dorcas? Do we have the giving out of love, out of compassion? Do we have that attitude? There are several more attitudes in the Bible that we're going to look at, but that's going to be it for today. We're going to continue this thought next week. But this week, I want us to think about our attitudes. Do we have an attitude of jealousy like Cain? Or do we have an attitude of humility like Joseph? Or are we like Dorcas and have an attitude of love and compassion and always wanting to do for others? As Christians, we need to be more like Dorcas and Joseph and less like Cain. And like I said, I just wanted to, this was a little bit shorter this week. I just wanted to touch base. This was kind of a good stopping point. I shouldn't say touch base. I wanted to introduce the topic because, like I said, I think there's 10 examples, and this was a good stopping point without having to go a 30-minute Devo. So this one's a little bit shorter, but I think it had good points. Again, we can all relate to Cain being jealous, having that attitude of jealousy. If we're not jealous, we know people who are. And as Christians, we should not be that way. I think we can all relate or know someone that has an attitude of humility And sometimes I know I need to learn from that attitude. And lastly, we all know people that have the attitude of love and compassion. And not, we use Dorcas because she gave people things that she made, but there's so many um examples of love. It doesn't have to be buying somebody something or giving them something. There's several ways to show love and compassion for others. And just, are we doing that? Are we having the right Christian attitude? And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope everyone has a great week, and we will continue this next week. And I will see you then. Thank you for listening.